Okay, in this video we're going to work on modeling our fish. So in the last one we showed you how to put the images that we're going to use for guides into the program. I have 3 different fish that I want to model. I'm not going to do all of them for this video, but eventually I hope to see all the results just to see what they look like. For this one I'm going to use my fish 2, and so I'm going to turn those images on. This one's looking at it from the front in orthographic mode. Remember that number pad 5 toggles orthographic to perspective. And then if I hit 3 on the number pad, I can look at the side of the fish and 1 at the front. We're going to focus only on the side of the fish at the moment. I've moved the image so that it's kind of centered right around the cube. I could also just move the cube, center around the image. Both of my images, though, are lined up, and so if I go back and forth between those, I can see that those pretty much follow the same height. And so without further ado there, what I'm going to start with is tabbing in to the cube, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for now just a little bit here. I'm going to do Control R to insert a loop cut. I'm going to click to set that right in the center, and then I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to make sure that my scale mode is set to median. I do not want my proportional editing on, so that should be off. And I also want to make sure that that when I scale, I only have slices of this taken. And so part of what I want to do is I can either click on this button here, that'll let me see the back and front of the object, so I can see through it now. If I turn that off, then I can't, but I want to be able to select the back vertices for this too. That's going to be super important for this one. You can also hit Z to go into wireframe mode, which will allow you to do the same thing, whichever one works for you. And then I'm going to hit 3 to go back to right orthographic. So I'm going to actually do shaded mode here just because I feel like it. And so I'm going to go from wire to solid. I could just do Z to toggle that. I'm going to hit S for scale, but before I do that, I'm going to bring this one down about halfway between these. I'm going to hit S to bring it up. Idea is I want to hit the bottom of where the fish is and the top of where the fish is. And then I'm going to hit A to deselect, B back here, and I'm going to hit S to scale. I can just grab the arrow to move that up or down, or I can hit G and move it up and down. Since I'm in orthographic mode, I'm looking at it from the side. If I use the grab tool, G, then what it'll do is it'll just move between the in that plane basically, so it won't like set it off somewhere in a really odd place. So I'm going to actually bring this one a little bit closer back here, and I'm going to scale up. And you're only looking for approximations, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to hit E and extrude out a little bit. I'm going to hit S, bring that down a little bit closer. I'm going to hit E again, down to there, scale it, and then feel free to like move it up or down. You don't have to stick 100% to your drawing, by the way. Whatever works best for your model as you're going, you're going to want to make those adjustments. Don't feel like just because you drew it one way that you have to stick with it. You want to be able to be a little flexible and get things how you want them to look. Do E, extrude one more out, we'll go right to there, and I'm going to S, scale it down quite a bit. Now, part of the reason why we're scaling it the way that we want is because not only are we adjusting the height of the fish, we're also adjusting the width of the fish as we do this. And so I want to just be kind of cognizant of doing that. And as I work with the contour here, that's what we're doing. Some fish, you don't need to do as many divisions as what I'm doing here. That's totally up to you. Whatever works best there. I'm going to B for box select, drag over those vertices. I'm going to extrude this out like so. Scale it down, and if you feel like you can get your outline based on what you're aiming for without having to scale it down without having to be as close together as some of those, that's fine too. You don't have to have everything close together. Although, since we're going to be adding armature to this later, those vertices and subdivisions will actually make it easier to animate. And we'll talk about that, of course, in a later video. So as I go through, again, adjust as you want. It's not like my lines here are some like amazingly magical thing that must be this way. Now, even though I'm getting larger at this point again, I might not want all of my fish to get wider too, but I can adjust that later. So like as I pull it out to here, for instance, I don't necessarily want it wider than this point, and if I hit scale and I just start to pull it out, it's going to get very, very wide and kind of bloated or whatever at that point. What I see people do sometimes, I'm going to back off on those last couple steps there, is that what I see them do is I see them extrude it out, say to this point, and then scale down pretty fine like that. Hit E, and then extrude like so. And I can scale to very thin there, knowing that that's also going to be how wide it is too at that point. So now I have my structure like this. If I hit A and then B and box select just those top vertices all the way along there, hit E to extrude up, I can pull this out where I want. Let's say we go there. I can hit S to scale it down a bit, pull this back, pull it down, okay, and then I can line these up how I want. So I can pull, oops, I should box select, always box select over your vertices so you get the front and back vertice. So I'm going to go like that, and then A to deselect, B, box select, and I'm going to pull that one in there. I'm actually going to pull these bottom ones in a little closer too. So I'm going to hit A, B, and that's essentially what you're aiming for, is to start pulling things around, work on it. I could extrude this around and then do this one separately. I'm going to do those together at the moment. So I'm going to do A to deselect, and I'm going to do B to box select again. I got those vertices. E to extrude. I'm going to do R for rotate. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit more. And then I'm going to hit A to deselect, B, and I'm just going to move those points individually where I want them. Okay, that's all you need to do, is just you're getting them to line up with your fish. If yours isn't this complicated, well, that probably works really well for you then. And that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that. So anyway, I'm going to continue doing that around, and then I'll do that on the bottom as well. We'll see what we get here in just a moment. Okay, I'm mostly finished with my side profile of my fish right now. I'm not doing the same thing with doing my fins up and down, because I want to treat those a little bit differently. And so as I go and I look at this, I want to go ahead and go to the front view. And my fish is a little bit too wide or thick for what I drew. Maybe I want to leave it that way. Before I play around with looking at this, I should actually look at it from the side, see what I think of it, or at an angle. I can even go back to orthographic because it's a little bit more comfortable sometimes. Maybe I want to turn off the back faces so I don't see those. And you can even tab out to take a look, see what you think of your fish thus far. And it's not bad. I'll try it thinner and we'll see what it looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and tab back in. I'm going to go ahead and hit 5 for orthographic. I'm going to go and hit 1 for front. And with everything on my fish selected, I'm going to hit S and X, and we're going to squash them down a little bit. I'm going to see what I think of that. So I could, since I have a couple different lines here on the side, so I just sketched it roughly, I can see kind of how I feel about the width of things. I'm going to go ahead and maybe go right about there, and then I can take a look and see what I think. Actually, I think that works better for this type of fish. And I'm going to do 5 for going into perspective. Tab out of it just for a moment to take a look. Looks good. Once you're satisfied with the look and appearance of it, we're going to slice it in half. And so before I do that, though, you might want to, if you're not sure, maybe you want to work with it a little bit later, it might not be bad to make a duplicate of your fish at this point. Shift D, click on it. I'm going to hit M for move to layer, and I'm going to put it on layer 2, my duplicate. I'm going to go back to the original one, tab in, 5 for orthographic, 1 for front. And I told you we're going to slice it in half. We're actually going to slice it in half down the lengthwise. We're going to fillet the little fish. Control R to insert loop cut. I want 1 right down the middle. So I'm going to click once, hit escape, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit A to deselect. B for box select. I'm going to drag over all the vertices on the left side. I'm going to hit X and say delete vertices. Now, I don't have all my fish there because I wasn't looking at it transparently. So I'm going to go ahead and hit 1 to look at it front forward facing here. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the back face. I forgot that I turned those off. I'm going to hit B for box select again. Select over it. Select the vertices on the right half. So I want to get pretty close to the edge, but not all the way there. And some of those are right on the edge here. No, but that looks pretty good. I might need to go even further into that. So here, just a second. Let's do 1 again, looking at from front. And I want to get very, very close. I want to make sure I can get everything on this side. So I'm going to hit B again, now that I zoomed in. And I'm going to select any vertices that I can find. And we're going to go ahead and delete those and see where we're at. Okay, let's look at the tail. The tail vertices were very close together, and as I can see here, I didn't get all of them because those get really, really close together. So I still want to get rid of that half of them. I'm going to go to face select Alt, and I just selected the edge loop there, and that should get everything. I'm going to hit X, and I'm going to say faces. And that should have taken care of that half of the fish. I'm going to do 1 for orthographic. Actually, let's go ahead and do Control and 1, which is going to go to the back of the fish here. And I'm going to zoom in a bit. So I still have this one. So I'm going to do X, delete face. A lot of times your tail won't be that small and close, and I don't want to do that. I think actually that is a nice clean cut until I get to here, and so I'm going to go to that one. Okay, I think I got it cleaned up a bit there. Just going over that side, making sure everything is nice and clean. And then we'll get to our next stage. in our next video.